Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 17, Episode 7. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us this Wednesday, Steelers Nation. Unfortunately, the rain has interrupted training camp the last couple of days, but the preseason opener is on the horizon just over 24 hours from now. It'll be Steelers-Packers at Acrisure Stadium, the first game under Mike McCarthy, and plenty of intrigue there no matter who plays and who sits. We'll have a lot to talk about with football back in Pittsburgh. So, Dave, how you doing?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. I really looking forward to this first preseason game. I look forward to all preseason games. You get to go to camp. I get to watch the preseason games, and obviously I'm looking forward to that. Even though we'll see how many of the starters end up playing, but the back end of the roster should have some talented guys that should get a lot of snaps in this game. And the long wait's finally over. I finally get to watch some Steelers football back on my TV on Thursday. So I'm excited about that. We have a little bit of a couple of things I think on the docket to go over today. Some things Mike McCarthy said and didn't say during his press conference on Tuesday. Aaron Rodgers, couple of things. I think you're going to bring us up to date on kind of an injury report, and we'll go over who we think may or may not play. We might address Ben Roethlisberger possibly getting into the Pro Football Hall of Fame as part of the 2027 class. And I think we got a couple other things to talk about today. So happy Wednesday.
Since it's right in front of us, Dave, let's talk about the preseason game against Green Bay tomorrow night. Mike McCarthy speaking to the media before Tuesday's practice. Unfortunately, storms that were threatening the area forced this team to the indoor facility, so we couldn't watch practice. It's apparently a pretty light session, a walkthrough, according to Ray Fittipaldo. Effectively, they're not even in pads, and so you're not missing a lot of information, but you do lose a little bit of, obviously, insight. But to the point, McCarthy talking about the team later Tuesday night was going to really finalize their plan for who would play and also who would not play in this preseason game. We expect to see Will Howard. We expect to see Drew Allar. We don't know exactly the order and how many reps they'll get. The question is, will we see one Aaron Rodgers? McCarthy's intimated that Rodgers would like to play. There have been reports that he's going to play. McCarthy not confirming that. Rodgers himself speaking to the media and saying, I don't see any value in preseason football because it's so vanilla. Defenses aren't doing anything interesting. And for a guy in the league 20-plus years, that's probably fair. So the question to start, literally and figuratively, Dave, is, will Aaron Rodgers play in this game?
Is Mike McCarthy just trying to make some digs at Aaron Rodgers? He wants to play, and then Aaron comes out and says, yeah, if I play, fine. If I don't, fine. And there's no value for me in preseason stuff. Look, if Aaron's asked to play in this game, will he play? I think the short answer is yes. Will he play a lot? Probably not. Will he even be asked to play? That I think is the biggest question. I think if Aaron had his druthers, he would not play. He would be on the headset, as he said, trying to crack some dad jokes and kind of keep things light. I think that's the best place for him in the first preseason game. I don't want to go too far deep into this, but with it sounding like, and I use that very carefully, Michael Pittman Jr. and DK Metcalf seem to have a few minor things that they might be dealing with coming out of the Saturday night practice. If those guys even tell me one of their toenails hurt, I'm not playing them. We'll see if Mike McCarthy feels different. But if those guys aren't playing, to me, and we kind of covered this, in the lead up in a couple of podcasts here, I'm with Aaron. I don't know what the value is in throwing Aaron Rodgers out there with guys like Roman Wilson and Jeremy Bernard other than just to work on a few timing things, I guess. And what would that look like? 7, 8, 9 plays, one series? I don't know. I will just. You want a prediction? I predict
Sure.
Aaron. I predict Aaron does not play in this game. Based on everything that I think I know. But as Jim Mora once said, you think you know, but you don't know. So I'll just go out on a limb and predict that Aaron Rodgers does not play.
That's fair, and I hope he doesn't. I've been on record saying I don't think Rodgers should play a single snap in any of the 3 exhibition games. I'm really on the fence. I just go back to McCarthy earlier this training camp saying that decisions on who would and would not play would come down to how the offense looked and where he felt like the team was at. And I think he's intimated the team is not where he wants them to be, especially offensively with all the pre-snap penalties and mistakes and sloppiness. And so I could see Rodgers playing in the game on that basis alone. Now, here's what McCarthy did say, the closest thing he gave us to concrete information about the rotations for this game. He says, quote, there will be a group that plays a series or two, and then there will be a group that'll go through the first half, and then a group that'll play in the second half. So that's our preliminary plan. So you could maybe surmise from that. Mason Rudolph starts, plays a series or two, then somebody else comes in to finish out the first half, and then somebody play the second half. I think the interesting part would be, will it be Will Howard that would go through the rest of the first half, and then Allar get the entire second half, or vice versa? Not quite sure. You don't want to cheat Howard out of playing time where he only gets maybe effectively a quarter, depending on how the first quarter goes, and then Allar gets the whole second half. But is Howard going to come in after Allar? That's not how it's worked in training camp so far. So I'm really curious on just the quarterback rotation and who gets how many reps.
All right, I'm not going to let you weasel out. Is Aaron Rodgers going to play or no?
I was trying to weasel and pivot there, Dave.
You're a weasel. You try to filibuster your way around that. Is Aaron Rodgers going to play?
Dave with a journalistic integrity to follow.
Yes.
I mean, I really don't have a great feeling, but just to be different, I'll say yes, he does, to differ from you.
One of us is going to be right, and one of us is going to be wrong. So at least we have that established at this point. I don't know what way it's going to go. No, it's just a guess on my part, mainly because it doesn't really sound like Aaron really wants to play, and B, I kind of wonder about, if you can't have Pittman and Metcalf out there. I do see some value, I guess, in Roman Wilson and Bernard being out there, but even Aaron Rodgers kind of backhanded complimented Jeremy Bernard during his press conference saying, yeah, look, he's basically in so many words, he got to learn the offense better. I think that's the way you interpret what he said when it comes to Bernard. Now, he's had a lot of praise for Roman Wilson, I think, throughout this training camp so far as well, too. So we'll see. I'm with you. The bigger question is, let's say Mason Rudolph winds up starting this game and plays 2 series, and you never know how the ball's going to bounce and whatnot, how many possessions you're going to get. If Mike McCarthy's real hard and determined to, let's say the second quarterback in only plays until halftime, you could potentially cut Will Howard out of a lot of snaps there. And this game obviously means a lot to a lot of players, and the coaches want to see a lot of players. But is there this game, if you ask me who this game means the most for overall, and it's very subjective, I know, it's Will Howard, because
Sure.
Drew Allar's making this team, Aaron Rodgers is making this team. Howard's got a short time to show a lot, I think. And the more snaps that you can give him in this preseason, on the facts that he did not play any last year during the preseason, any time that he gets is important time. So I would like to see him get as much time as possible. I've made my thoughts known on this. If it was up to me, we'd see 75 and 75, or 70, of the 75 snaps split, between Howard and Allar in this game. I'm not so much concerned about Mason Rudolph, whereas I do understand new offense. you probably want to, and especially if you are leaning towards him being your backup, you'd like to see him get some preseason snaps throughout this thing here. But you got 2 more games after this, and you can get Rodgers snaps in one of the 2 there. I think you can mix in handful of snaps for Rudolph in the next couple here. But my hope is that Will Howard and Drew Allar play a lot in this game, and even if that means Howard coming out after halftime and then maybe getting the first possession, I'm fine with that as well too. It doesn't sound like that's the way it's going to go, but preseason, coaches better be light on their feet, because once again, this team could have 3 possessions during the first half, depending on how the ball bounces. And I'd hate to think that you just hard and fast that the second team units out of the game at halftime, regardless of how many possessions they get.
Right, and McCarthy did say that was the preliminary plan, and plans always subject to change based on game flow and circumstance. I'm not the first to have this thought, but I would just simply go Howard first half, Allar second half, and that's how I'd run the opener. And
I would too.
Give those guys, because those guys need a lot of reps, a lot of situations, and so they can learn and start applying what they learn from inside stadium to practice. So they're not just missing a situation or a 2-minute drill or a key red zone moment where they didn't get a chance to work on that in game, and that'll really help them in practice and help them over the next 2 preseason games. So I think at some point you would play Mason Rudolph, maybe a second or third preseason game. But I want to get these guys as much exposure as possible out of the gate, and they've had plenty of training camp reps, so I think, to justify that, where they've not been really limited and curtailed in reps, where they really just aren't prepared to go in there and run all situations. So that'd be my plan. Probably not Mike McCarthy's plan, but we'll see. From a health standpoint, just to sort of zoom out and see, as you kind of mentioned, who may or may not play in this game. From a health standpoint, it's been a little bit tougher to glean because we didn't get a good look on the health situation from Tuesday's practice. But as you said, Michael Pittman, DK Metcalf, they didn't work the last 2 practices. And so I'd be surprised if either played in this game. You would expect Logan Lee, defensive lineman, likely to miss. He's missed a week or so with an unknown injury. Sebastian Joseph-Day missed some time, so don't be shocked if he's out. Brendan Eccles with his foot ankle probably won't play. The pup guys obviously aren't going to suit up. McCarthy really casting doubt on Maxi Honachor, his ability to play in this preseason opener, so his NFL debut is likely to wait, although he was starting to work back to some degree in practice. Probably just not enough time for him to get back in this game.
Yeah, you obviously would like your first round draft pick, or all draft picks really, to be able to be healthy enough to play in all 3 of these games. And it does sound like Max is going to miss this game, and that is unfortunate overall, especially because he, at the time of injury, seemed like he was, once the pads had gone on, he was having a strong camp, and you were thinking at that point that maybe he could make a run potentially at the starting right tackle spot. And every preseason game that he misses due to injury is going to potentially not allow that to happen there. Now, can he get back on the field if he misses this one, and in the final 2 preseason games, and show this team enough to put trust in him to be the starter? Yeah, I mean, I think it's plausible overall, but in the here and now, it's just disappointing that he's not. It doesn't sound like he's going to play against the Packers on Thursday night.
Jaquan Brisker also working his way back, so unsure about his status. One rookie who seems like he's going to play despite dealing with a recent injury is 7th rounder Eli Heidenreich. He practiced on a limited basis during, I think it was my dates are running together. Not yesterday's practice, I guess Monday's practice, whatever it was. And so he talked to reporters though after Tuesday and was intimating, just based on his comments, that he was preparing to make his debut, which is obviously encouraging.
Yeah, and look, that's a guy that I said when he was drafted, after he was drafted, say, look, this team's got to give him every chance possible to try to make the roster. Now, he obviously getting dinged up, that hurt. That's him hurting his own cause, de facto, I guess. You don't go out there trying to get injured there, but I think it is important for him. I don't care if I see Warren or Dowdle in this game. I do want to see Caleb Johnson in this game. I think Lou Nichols has done a deserving job to get some time in this game. But beyond that, you don't really have a lot of running backs on the roster. So I would like to see Eli Heidenreich get some snaps, particularly, let's say, with that final third group. And I'd like to see him get some true runs out of the backfield and get some special teams time on top of it there. So it does sound like he's trending in the right direction, and he sounds excited to potentially make his debut. So let's hope that ultimately happens there. What about Deshaun Elliott?
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, he's been working in team in the lighter period, so I'm not sure if he's going to play in this game because they've not even put him in the thud tackling, more intense 11-on-11 situations. But safety is getting on the thinner side right now. Brisker doesn't play, and of course, Ramsey is out. And so you have the veterans that you've added in Jenkins and Mukwamu. So my guess is no on Elliott for the opener until we kind of see him a little more advanced in practice. But those determinations, I'm sure, are being made behind closed doors. I'm sure he's wanting to get out there just to hit somebody. It's been a while since he's been able to.
All right.
And then Stephen Jones, the offensive line, we'll have to see on him. They're a little thin on the offensive line, too, with Ihanachour unlikely to play. Lorenzo Thompson got waived injured the other day. Jones' situation is a little uncertain. I imagine the starters are going to play at least that first series or two.
Yeah, I would be okay with a starting offensive line out there for 7, 8 plays a series or something like that. But I certainly wouldn't leave them in there a ton. But we'll see how that transpires.
Do you think Kim Hayward, TJ Watt play in this game?
No, I wouldn't.
Do you think McCarthy would though? But you're saying no to both you and McCarthy.
I think he'll err on the side of caution here.
I agree. I don't think we're going to see those guys. There's really no need to. I mean, he's held them out of practice, and he talked about that to reporters that they're in the trenches, and so just wanting to manage their reps matters more than Aaron Rodgers, who's yet to have an off day because he's not getting, not in the physical battle the way that Hayward and Watt would be on a daily basis. So just no need. They got plenty of defensive linemen that need a lot of reps in this game, and a couple of edge guys that are going to be worthy of further looks too.
Now, I would expect, and I think this is obvious for anybody that like veterans that aren't going to play, to get out there and lather up and go through pregame stuff and lead the young guys and get them ready, and then come time that they come out of the locker room not be in pads, something like that. But
right, that's a good point.
That's what I would do.
Yeah, that's a good point. Sometimes we'll see a guy dress, but then not actually play, and just to want to go through the paces. What about Pat Frymouth, Jamel Dean, just some of the other starters, offense, defense? What do you think on those guys?
Yeah, I don't see the value in it, really, to be honest with you, other than maybe wanting them to get a tackle or two in, because his team hasn't tackled, in camp or anything. That's going to be one of the. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but that's going to be one of the main things I think to look for. In this game overall is, what's the tackling look like? Do they look like a team that hasn't tackled so far during training camp? I think that, so maybe you'll want a couple of those guys, maybe some of those newcomers, to get out there, just to, have them get some contact and all. But if I had my druthers, if a guy that I know is going to be a starter, especially on the defensive side of football, and is a vet, I wouldn't throw him out there.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think those guys are going to play that first series or two. It sounds like maybe that's what that'll be reserved for. Some of those starters just getting some work in, and then they'll probably exit midway through the first quarter. But again, we'll have to wait and see. I don't know. Do the Packers tackle live in training camp? I wonder how LaFleur does it, just to see if there's a difference between a team that tackles in camp versus McCarthy, who is not.
I don't know. I haven't researched what they're doing in camp this year.
Looks like, just my quick search, the Packers do not have any live tackling in training camp like the Steelers. So we'll see who looks better. They're also talking about the break tackle aspect of it too. We talk so much about not able to evaluate fully the tackling aspect. I think it's also tough to evaluate the running back position. So let's kind of just start there then. For whoever plays in this game, we assume that Caleb Johnson's going to play a lot, and Lou Nichols and Heidenreich might get some snaps too, which is encouraging. What are you looking for from the running backs in this game, Dave?
Yeah, their ability, because these guys haven't even been tackled so far, their ability to break tackles in the game, any pass protection type situations, particularly a guy like Caleb Johnson. And, Caleb's fighting for a roster spot. Let's face it. And Lou Nichols is a guy that some of the coaches are volunteering to, hey, don't forget about him in this race as well too. So I think those three running backs you just mentioned, Caleb, Lou Nichols, and Heidenreich, they have a lot on the line. So
Mm-hmm.
I think you try to divvy up the carries as you can between those guys, and just interested to see if any of those guys can break some runs or break some tackles, or make sure their assignment sound overall, and not putting football on the ground obviously is part of that.
Don't want to forget about Travis Homer in this
Mhm.
mix. He'll get a couple offensive snaps. We know his bread is buttered through special teams, and so he's going to, I'm sure, be the personal protector with the starting punt team and probably get the first half and probably play, I'm sure, on other units as well. So he'll see some offensive snaps, but it obviously matters more for, I would say, guys like Johnson and Nichols and Hyde. Who do you think leads the team in carries in this game?
Lou Nichols.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. He's, I think, led that group so far. I think I got to give Caleb Johnson though a lot of burn. You got to learn a lot more about where he's at offensively, not just as a runner, but a blocker, a receiver, those aspects. So I'm giving Caleb Johnson as much as he can handle in this
All
game.
right.
Quarterback, let's just go to that. Regardless of how many snaps each gets, obviously all eyes, every movement that Will Howard and Drew Allar makes will be scrutinized, and we'll do, I'm sure, film studies as soon as possible on both of those guys. Afterwards, what are you looking for from each?
Yes.
The
Uh,
classic Dave answer.
yeah. Look. Once again, yeah, I think this is a big game for Will Howard, a little more so than Drew Allar. But you just want to see how comfortable these guys are at getting this getting the team in and out of the huddle, making sure they make proper reads. I think some of the things you've talked about with Allar is the accuracy, kind of short distance, and with Howard, it's more about the ability to drive the football down the field accurately. You want to feel comfortable with the decision making and the accuracy, I think, overall, and just the fluidity of them running the offense. Are
Mhm.
there any unnecessary timeouts, broken plays, turning the wrong way in the backfield? I'm hoping to see these guys under center a lot in this game, and obviously there's going to be situations where they're going to be in shotgun there, but want to watch these guys run the offense under center. A handful of times within this, and yeah, I think it's all the above. I mean, this is the first time that we're going to see both these guys in Steeler uniforms underneath the lights, and I think it's an exciting time, and I hope there's a lot of snaps to look at from both those guys overall. But just trying to keep them, the decisions overall. Obviously, any turnovers are going to be highly scrutinized by either one of these quarterbacks, and the same goes for maybe even potential sacks or bailing out of pockets, maybe that are clean. Going to be looking at the footwork. Mike McCarthy's huge on the whole footwork aspect of the quarterback camp here. So yeah, I mean, it's all the above when it comes to these two.
Yeah, you're right. It's anything and everything because there is so much to learn and so much unknown about these guys inside a stadium. Will Howard's last game inside a stadium was the national title game in January 2025 against Notre Dame, and Allar's was October of last year when he got hurt against Northwestern. And so it's just been a long time coming for both of these men. I think you're right. The big picture, fundamental stuff, clean exchanges, good handoffs, good command at the line of scrimmage, just being able to handle kind of in the moment, no deer in the headlights type of stuff there, just the fluidity, the operation and command at the line. But then, as you pointed out, can Aller in the short intermediate game be accurate, be consistent on target, hit guys in stride, sort of make those layups that he's been prone to missing in training camp? And can Howard make some of those tough, tight window throws where he really has to drive the football in between defenders and make that tough throw down the sideline? He can show the touch and the accuracy in layer throws, but can he really drive a throw is going to be the question with him. But going back to the fundamentals, Will Howard kind of harkens back to the old McCarthy ideals and principles of how he teaches a quarterback. We wrote about this back in February, shortly after the hire. The way he teaches the quarterback's footwork. Will Howard talking about the punch step in terms of your 5-step drop under center, which is the first and second step to really gain a lot of ground away from center and release the basis and foundation of your drop. And so the things that Mike McCarthy talked back in 2006 about, he's talking about today to Will Howard and Drew Allar. So yeah, just the overall command, and then just your goals in offense is to put points on the board. It's as simple as that. And so, can you make some plays, drive this offense, and score?
And look, if one of these two young quarterbacks makes a mistake during the game and throws a bad interception or something like, how do they respond to it?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Do they fall apart the rest of the game, or do they rebound and have a good game after that? So those are all important aspects of being a quarterback in the NFL. Occasionally you're going to have the turnover or bad decision for whatever reason, bad play. How do you respond to it after the fact there? So I would hate to see, like, let's say Will Howard's the second quarterback in. I would hate to see him, let's say, a final drive or whatnot of his on a night. Maybe it ends up in a bad throw. I don't know if I want him going to the sideline right after that. I would be tempted to kind of throw him out there for one more drive to see how he responds from that bad decision or bad throw.
Or even a teammate making mistakes, somebody with a false start or a holding call or a drop pass that puts the offense in a more difficult situation. Can you lock back in and not get rattled by somebody else screwing up? But certainly if you do make a mistake, if Howard or Allar does, and they'll make mistakes, and that's part of the process. But as you said, short-term memory, can you learn from that and come back and respond? All right, let's go to the wide receivers. Let's go to wide receivers again. Metcalf, Pittman, I'm guessing won't play in this game, but a lot on the line, a lot to learn about Roman Wilson, Jeremy Bernard, and company.
Yeah, look, Roman Wilson should look like the big kid out on the playground. You would think with the group when he gets out there, even if that ends up being first team there. This is the guy that supposedly has had a pretty good camp overall. You've heard Aaron Rodgers talk positively about him. He needs to step up and show that he deserves to be that third wide receiver. And then Bernard, obviously you want to see him at least appear to have a grasp of the offensive plays that they're asked to run. Once again, one of the minor kind of criticisms that, or at least what Aaron Rodgers was insinuating the other day there, was that he's got to learn the offense better. I don't think there's many more issues other than that at this point. But with him being a high draft pick this year, you expect to see some flashes and some broken tackles and being careful with the football, and you expect 2 or 3 grabs, I think, at least out of him in this game as well too. So big game obviously for Roman Wilson and Jeremy Bernard, and I think another guy, Brandon Smith's had a lot of buzz here, especially this last week. He got some love from Aaron Rodgers the other day, so you would expect him to play quite a few snaps in this game as well too. I don't know how much of Ben Skoranek we'll see in this game. I wouldn't imagine much. Max Hurlman's a guy that's been around for a little bit, has a potential to make a few plays, I think, in this game as well too.
Yeah, that's a really good rundown. And to what I think Rodgers talked about yesterday, who's playing confident, who's playing fast. I mean, that's when you're out there confident, you know exactly what you're doing. You naturally play fast. You expect to see that from Roman Wilson. He's done that throughout training camp. Can you get similar from Bernard? I want to see Bernard just play detail. He's had too many false starts. So just when the quarterback goes hard count, don't false start. I mean, that's kind of something that he's kind of been prone to doing in training camp so far, but just running good routes and doing some damage after the catch. But yeah, Brandon Smith, can you carry over your great practice to the in-stadium action? And obviously, quarterback and situation dictates how many targets you get, but he's a guy that needs to take that next step and really sort of put it all together with good practice followed by good preseason in-stadium action, and then show something on special teams. If he does all that, he'll be, I think, a shoo-in for the practice squad, and even a potential long shot still probably, but potential candidate for the 53-man roster. And then in the return game, just sticking at receiver, Caden Weegen, really his first chance to show what he can do as a returner. Really tough to evaluate in training camp, but we talk about wanting big plays, which of course you always want from your returners, but making good decisions, good ball security, that's where it starts with a guy like Caden Weegen.
All right, on the offensive line, Brock Hoffman, will he play any center in this game, Alex, or will he play only right guard, or will he play both guard spots and no center?
I'm not sure if he'll play left and right guard. I'm going to guess he won't play center in this game because they're thinner at guard and other places among and along the offensive line. So you have Ryan McCollum and Greg Crippen and Zach Frazier could be part of that first, second series starter group that McCarthy is referring to. So I'm going to guess no center for Hoffman in this game, but plenty at guard. Will it be left and right? It could, but I just don't have a good feeling on that.
All right, will Broderick Jones get the green light to go in this game?
Seems so. I don't see any reason, any evidence why he wouldn't. And McCarthy praised Broderick Jones his last couple of practices. I think starting with the Saturday night practice where he looked really good, and so I assume he has full clearance to play in this game. Don't be surprised if he's playing both left tackle and right tackle in this one.
All right, who is the offensive lineman most likely to play more than one position in this game, if any?
Say Doug Nestor. Doug Nestor's been really versatile. He's played everything, basically. I mean, Jones, obviously, I think can and will end up playing both tackle spots in this one. So, yeah, it could be a variety of people, but Nestor's really showcased his position flex throughout the summer.
All right, and you would expect, I guess, Ryan McCollum to come in after Zach Frazier at center, and then potentially we will see Gregory Crippen late at center.
Yeah, that seems like a good plan there. So had some sloppiness too with the offensive line, and just you need to be assignment sound. But who's going to really show that strain, that finish in pass pro? You know, adjusting to James Campen's rules, how he teaches pass protection. I think a little more passively than what Pat Meyer, his aggressive style was. And so guys adjusting to that, the returners at least in Tanu, McCormick, Frazier, etc. Assuming those guys do play, but yeah, just being assignment sound, picking up stunts, all that kind of stuff, always important.
All right, we should see a lot of Riley Nowakowski in this game, right? Both at fullback, I would imagine, for maybe a few snaps. H-back a little bit, maybe some split zones type stuff. Will we see any end of the line of scrimmage kind of true tight end for Nowakowski?
I think you can say the Dave Bryan answer of yes to what position he'll play. I think he'll do everything. You're going to see this team under center a lot. You're going to see a lot of strong eye and eye formation. You're going to see him maybe even split out, standing up in the slot occasionally. So, yeah, you're going to see this guy do everything. I think he's really had a good camp. His versatility, his ability to handle it all and absorb it all without a lot of mistakes that I can tell. I want to see his lead blocking at fullback. It's probably not been great so far in training camp, but you're facing some good defenders and a guy like Peyton Wilson who's really fallen out this summer. So I do want to see the lead blocking aspect of it, how effective he is on that. But yeah, you're going to see him everywhere.
All right, I don't know. I don't imagine. I mean, I imagine we will see some of Robert Tonyan. Probably not a lot, but I will be watching his blocking if that happens. And I'm excited to see the new tight end, Lance Mason. I think this guy has a potential maybe of making the practice squad here.
I think you'll see Tonyan a fair amount because you only have so many tight ends on the roster. And I imagine Freiermuth and Washington, if they play, won't be out there very long. And so you're left with Nowakowski, who's going to be playing some fullback, Tonyan, Lance Mason, as you said, and Lake McCree. And I'm not the only it's very small that I was able to gather or at least think about during the Tuesday practice was I saw Lake McCree when he came out of the facility. He didn't walk down to the field. It took him on buses to the indoor facility, but he was wearing black sweats instead of the pads. I don't know, maybe he had his pads underneath, but I wonder if McCree got dinged up a little bit. He had a helmet in hand, so maybe he was going to practice, but I just couldn't get a great feel for that. So I do want to see McCree's going to play in this game. So I think either way, you're going to still see a fair amount of Tonyan. It's good to have a vet out there, too, just as a trust. I mean, listen, Howard and Allar have thrown to him a lot as a security blanket kind of check down option. So I think you're going to see Tonyan, I don't know exactly how many snaps, but a decent amount.
All right. Defensive side of football, I guess, next. I want to see Y.A. Black get some snaps over the nose in nose tackle and see how that goes for a couple of series.
Yeah, I really want to see what this split is because him and Black and Benton have really traded off nose tackle and end snaps. And so it's been hard to get a read of what the plan is there, if they're going to just mix and match all season or what. And this game won't give us a definitive answer, but I do want to see kind of who starts at nose tackle and who's getting reps where based on our charting. But yeah, Black, you expect to see a different guy in year two, the run defense to continue to improve, more comfort at nose tackle. He made the transition there sort of halfway through last year after Aquale got hurt, but really has been focusing on it more this year, especially in the summer months where he was playing end basically all of last training camp. And then Derek Harmon, should he play, which he might. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he did, just to kind of see him really kind of show the second year jump that he's been teasing in training camp with some really good practices. And then I really want to see the rookie Gabriel Rubio. I think it's been a good camp for him, playing a lot of nose tackle, playing D tackle in sub, power in his hands, but I want to just see that kind of translate. I wouldn't be surprised if he was making some plays in this game, Dave.
All right, and Kyler Ball's a little bit of experience in some preseason action. Has had a nice kind of surge at camp, I think, according to you. So that should be another guy on the defensive line to watch. I want Anthony. I talked a little bit about Anthony Goodlow ahead of training camp, thinking he might be a practice squad type guy. I want to, he's another guy that's played some NFL snaps. This is not new to him. You would expect him maybe against some of these furniture movers to show up.
Yeah, I mean, you would expect those guys that have played some ball to look like it, and Goodlow is one of those guys getting some time with Arizona last year. You could say similar about Dean Lowry, who I know Cam Hayward shouted out as having a nice camp this summer and is still squarely in that mix to make the 53 and knows this defense and knows Patrick Graham and the Packers staff well. And he's a veteran that's going to play and probably go up against some young offensive linemen on Green Bay's side. And you would expect Lowry to look good in those matchups. So context is important, but it'll still be good for Lowry to make those plays. I've been excited about Kyler Baugh, as you pointed out, and I would expect Baugh and Goodlow to play a little bit on special teams, running down kicks, because they were getting a look there during the Saturday practice, and they're big guys, but athletic, that can play on kicks now.
All right, outside linebacker. I think the notable name here is Jack Sawyer. Expect to see some pretty good burn early in this game from Jack Sawyer, and potentially maybe flipping sides as well too. Coming out of college, he was primarily a left side guy. He did get some snaps on the right side last year, not a lot. But if they're going to be moving these guys around, even though their top three are going to play a lot of the snaps throughout the season here, I expect I expect a pretty decent game out of Jack Sawyer Thursday night.
Do you think Highsmith and Herbig play at all?
Oh,
Really wrestled with that one, because you only have so many guys.
yeah. I don't. Maybe Highsmith. No, look. There's really no reason. I think you know what you got with both those guys. I wouldn't, but will they? I'll say no on Highsmith. Yes on Herbig.
I think they'll both play the first series or two, just because you got to have somebody out there, because they don't have a lot of depth there. I mean, Sawyer's going to get a ton of burn, and then behind that, you're going to have Jamin Davis and Julius Welshoff, and I imagine Malik Harrison probably gets some edge work too, just to give him some snaps, and because they're a little bit thinner in terms of their edge depth.
All right, you expect Peyton Wilson to play in this game. I guess the question would become, is Patrick Queen going to play?
I think he will. I think it's important for those guys to get out there, communicate inside a stadium. And listen, whenever you're at home, not the preseason crowds are going to be the most loud environment, but it's always tougher for the home defense to communicate, because the crowd is loud to try to get the opposing offense to have their difficulties communicating, but the sound obviously has the same impact on the defense. So I think for a defense that had a lot of communication issues last year, for a new coordinator there, you want Patrick Graham to have the radio to hear Patrick Graham's voice, just to get comfort with that. And Queen has certainly not held back at all, talking about how detailed this coaching staff is, and taking some subtle digs, or at least implying last year the coaching staff, especially DC Terrell Austin, he was unhappy with how things ran operationally.
All right, we expect Bruner to get a lot of run in this game on defense, and probably at the start on some special teams in this. Windman should play a lot in this game. Where will Malik Harrison filter in at?
Late in the game, and like I said, he may play some outside linebacker just to fill the lines there, but it's going to be, I think you will see Peyton Wilson and Patrick Queen. I'm really excited for Peyton Wilson. I want to see him attack the run and translate what he's done in practice, which has been really impressive, to in-stadium action, albeit the preseason. And then you probably see Cole Holcomb in right after that, followed by Carson Bruner, and then maybe late in the game, Harrison and Jacoby Windman.
All right, you have a good grasp of who's in and who's out, who's playing where in the secondary. So lay that out for the folks, what you expect.
I mean, I do. With all the injuries, though, it's gotten messy. It's been Jamel Dean at left corner, Asante Samuel at left corner, Jamel Dean at right corner, and then probably going to be Danico Slaughter in the slot to start. And then from there, you're going to rotate in, probably Timon Lynam, and probably Dalen Everett getting the second reps at probably right corner. He's played both left and right corner, but I'll just say right. And then you got Daryl Porter there. You got Timon Lineman there. Other slot work could be Deshaun Jameson. Also, he's played inside, played outside. So, I mean, I have a grasp and I don't because there's been so many injuries there. It's just been such a kind of revolving door of different people. And then same at safety. It's probably going to be Rayshon Jenkins and Robert Spears Jennings starting if Jaquan Brisker is unable to play. And then you're going to rotate in from there, Castro and Henderson and Izzy McQuamu.
Will Robert Spears Jennings log the most snaps, total snaps combined of defense and special teams throughout the preseason?
This is just for the defense or like anyone on offense or the entire team?
Offense too, the entire team. But what kind of chance does Robert Spears Jennings have to, if he stays healthy, to lead the team in total snaps throughout the preseason?
That's a really good question. He's going to play a lot. There's no doubt about that, and he's gotten a lot of reps so far because of the injuries there. I don't know if he's going to play the most though, just because they have been able to add some of these vets. You imagine Elliott will get out there at some point. Brisker is minor injury. If he does miss this game, probably back for the next one. So I'll say no. It's probably going to be one of those outside linebackers because they are just thinner there, and you wouldn't expect guys like Watt and Highsmith and Herbig to play a ton in the exhibition games.
Okay. All right. Anything left that you're looking? I mean, Everett obviously going to have a lot of eyes on him in this preseason game. He should get a lot of burn, you would think. Anything else on defense that we need to talk about ahead of this first one?
Well, just to stick with Everett, he's gotten a lot of buzz from some guys in the media. I know Jerry Dulac has talked him up a lot and even said the one day that Kevin Colbert was there whenever he was inducted into the Hall of Honor, that Colbert apparently said that Everett might be their best draft pick of the entire class. I know some people will say Colbert's track record evaluation lately was not great, so take that with a grain of salt. I haven't quite felt that as Everett playing like the best rookie, but maybe I've just missed some stuff. I don't know. So I really want to see. He's been competitive. I mean, he's going to want to hit somebody. Same with Spears Jennings. So I really do want to see Everett out there in game action. And I don't know what the Packers' entire plan at receiver. They got some good receivers over there. And so it's going to be a good test for him.
All right, special teams. With this being Danny Crossman's first year, you would think he's going to want to take a good look at maybe what his what potentially his main core guys are going to look like on these units. I think we expect Homer to be the personal punt protector, at least out at shoot. It'll be interesting to track after that if Eli Heidenreich gets any of that, and maybe even is there any other candidates to personal protect? And then tell me about potentially the wings that we will see in this one.
Yeah, personal protector, PP, it should be Homer to start. Heidenreich's gotten a look there. The injury, I don't know if that's going to complicate his availability for that. Max Herman has also gotten reps there. Sometimes they do surprise and put somebody out there that hadn't worked it in a public practice. Remember a year or two ago, John Rice Plumlee coming out of nowhere and working PP, but those are the three guys to note. Homer for sure, I think will start, and then Heidenreich and Hurlman. The wings probably going to be, it had been in camp, Peyton Wilson, Cole Holcomb, or Riley Nowakowski, and so it wouldn't be, and will Wilson go out there? I'm not sure if he'll do it, but maybe Holcomb and Nowakowski or somebody like that. Lou Nichols could also get a look there. The Gunners, the starters this year will be Skoranek and Eccles. Well, Eccles is not going to play in this game, I don't think, and Skoranek, you don't really need to get him the reps out there, so it probably will be somebody else. It could be Jameson and Everett. It could be a variety of people, Brandon Smith. I mean, he's going to see a couple different rotations there.
All right, and the punt returners.
Yeah, it should be Caden Weegan. I imagine going to be on kicks and punts. And then the number 2 returner gets a little interesting. You had Roman Wilson do it with his offensive snaps. I don't know if he'll end up doing it in this game or not. Those have been the main 2 guys. Hurlman can do it too. He returned punts at Notre Dame. He was the returner for his 1 year at South Bend. And then kick returns, you're going to see Weegan and potentially Roman Wilson, but his offensive snaps may put him off that unit for this game. And then Heidenreich has gotten a look. Will the health allow it? Caleb Johnson should be back in the return lines too. I don't know how many chances he'll get, but I'd expect him to get a couple of looks back there. And the new receiver, Jacoby Keeney James, also has been getting a look.
All right, and Laith Margin probably doing the kicking in this one, right?
Yeah, I really don't expect Boswell to kick. Maybe he takes the first kick or something just to get his feet wet. But he's done a lot of kicking in camp. He's looked good. You don't really need to get him out there. The operation is known with Kuntz and Johnston, so I'd imagine Marjan's gonna handle a lot of the kicks and the kickoffs in this one. Johnston though will have to do all the punting because he's the only punter on the roster.
Okay.
All right, so who is maybe the answer is obvious, but
Yeah.
number one player that you're looking for in this game that you're
Will
most interested.
Howard.
Okay, number two, a non-quarterback.
Non-quarterback who I am most looking forward to see play. I think Roman Wilson
Okay.
on offense there. I'm looking forward to seeing play. And then Caleb Johnson probably after that.
I'm going to say Peyton Wilson, even though he's a vet by preseason standards. He's played so much football. I just want to see if that different guy feel is carrying over to
Okay.
to this preseason game.
All right.
All right, Dave. Anything else from what Aaron Rodgers had to say? He spoke to the media, and we talked about his thoughts on the preseason. Anything else though that he said that caught your attention?
Not. Yeah, I mean he. It was fun to hear him talk about all the pranks and all like that, but I don't think we'd learn. I mean, look, he had a lot of praise for what Muth and Bobby Tunyon and who else did he talk about? We covered the thing about Bernard there, that Bernard just needs to learn the offense better. He had the comments about Brandon Smith. That's yet another name that you should watch in this game, particularly because you could be talking about locking in a practice squad spot for him moving forward here. I think that's got it on Aaron, unless I'm missing something.
No, I think that sums it up well. He noted that he felt like Brandon Smith had dropped about 10 pounds. They were together in New York, I think in 2024 for a brief time. Smith was there in the summer, and so they'd known each other a little bit, but he says he looks a little leaner now and says he's a phenomenal guy and he's really smart, but he's also got some craft to his game, and I think you saw that the other night referring to the really strong Saturday night lights practice that he had. Rodgers shouting out Pat Frymuth and DK Metcalf, those guys having good camps, and really praising Rico Dowdle too. Not being familiar with him too much before training camp or before this year, but now teammates, a lot of praise there. Also, we should mention, I know you touched on it briefly at the end of our last show, but just the praise that Rodgers gave for Zach Frazier and Mason McCormick, I thought was really important to note, and that came for the Saturday practice, but really talked those guys up, and almost to agree, say he's never been around a center like Zach Frazier before, just how smart he is and the way that he handles himself. And he's still a young guy. I mean, he's played a lot of football, but still a young guy in age, and McCormick, a similar boat. So just really loving on those guys a little bit.
Yeah, he likes the leadership of McCormick. And obviously when it comes to Frazier, how smart he is, how quick he is to catch up with the line calls and the cadences and everything associated with that. So expecting a huge season from those two guys, and Fautano on top of it this time next year. We could you look at all these extensions going on to the centers and the guards this offseason there. That sets up for some real nice paydays for Frazier and McCormick, certainly. And obviously Fautano's facing I think the 5th round option decision, so that might put him off for an extension by a year. We'll see how that goes. But when you're talking about center over to left tackle there, a lot should be expected out of this young group, because those are pedigree draft picks, and the Steelers talk about building up those trenches, and they've got a lot invested in it across the board at this point.
Yeah, offensive line and defensive line. And listen, if Aaron Rodgers says you're smart, then you're a genius, because Rodgers is legitimately one of the smartest players in NFL history. And if he's praising your football IQ as kind of being next level, that to me is really, truly saying something.
Absolutely.
And then he also talked about, I think in this most recent interview, there's just Pat Frymuth looking smoother and faster, and time speed and play speed are different things. We talk about a lot, everyone falls in love with a 40 time, but we've seen so many guys that run a 4 something 40 not play to that time once the pads come on. We've seen guys that run 4.5 something play a whole lot faster than what that time would suggest. And that comes down to their knowledge and confidence and just football IQ, that they know exactly what they're doing and can change on the fly whenever the defense presents a different picture and be on the same page. And Rodgers saying that Pat Frymuth looking like that guy with their second year together.
All right.
All right, Dave, that probably does it for the quotes there. One other non-preseason discussion that has come up, we might have talked about it a little bit, everything is blending together, but the 2027 Hall of Fame with the 26th class officially inducted over the weekend. There were some great speeches by Drew Brees and Roger Craig. It was so tough to hear about the dementia diagnosis there, so I'm really glad that he's able to get his flowers, but all eyes now on 2027, where a couple of Steelers are first-time eligible in wide receiver Antonio Brown, running back Le'Veon Bell, and the big name here, quarterback Ben Roethlisberger. Been a lot of discussion locally and also nationally. Is Ben a first-ballot Hall of Famer? Will he get in? Should he get in 2027? Some differing takes out there. LaShawn McCoy very much saying that Ben should not be a Hall of Famer, first ballot or not. Others disagreeing. You may have a disagreement there, Dave. So what are your thoughts on Ben's chances first ballot?
All right, first of all, let's look at some of the notable first-time eligibles. Rob Gronkowski, you'd have to think that he's got a great shot of being a first-ballot guy. Adrian Peterson, I know there's the off-the-field stuff. That might cloud that a little bit, but for what he did on the football field, he's going to have a good argument to be in there. Richard Sherman is another one that's you could foresee getting a lot of buzz and potentially being a first ballot guy. He lists Cam Newton here. I'm not seeing it with Cam Newton. I know he lists Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell in here. I'm not seeing it with either one of those two. Obviously, Antonio Brown has the on-the-field resume for it. I do wonder about the off-the-field stuff, if that will prevent him from being a first ballot guy. Andrew Whitworth, man, one of the most premier left tackles in the league, not named Joe Thomas, maybe specifically during that span. You have to like his chances of being a first ballot guy. Alex Mack, obviously a center. I don't know if that's really slam dunk, and I don't know if the two others that Adam Schefter mentioned, Gerald McCoy and Eric Weddle, are guys that you could say are automatically going in. I think they're good conversations to have. And then Ben Roethlisberger, obviously. And I think a lot of the argument McCoy made is about what the first team, about the all pros and all like that. I mean, look who that guy was having to go against for all pro votes throughout his career. The Peyton Mannings and the Tom Brady's on the AFC side. For most of his career, that's a hard ask to use all pro. Ben won 2 Super Bowls, was in a third one, got this team obviously to several AFC championship games. His style of play, I know people will probably throw out the whole the stuff in Georgia type things, but let's remember that he was never charged with any of that. I think Ben Roethlisberger, especially, you see guys like Drew Brees get in first ballot, and I'm not taking anything away from Drew Brees, but to me it feels like if you're going to put Drew Brees in first ballot, I think Ben Roethlisberger deserves to be first ballot as well.
I think he deserves to be first ballot. I think he was a top 5 player at his position for a long period of time. And yes, he was behind Brady and Peyton, but my criteria is basically, were you one of the best players at your position for an extended period of time? And barring no giant off-field issue of the AB sort, then if you do that, then you're on my short list to get in. But it's always tough. It's always so much competition. And that's going to be, I think, the real issue. I think Gronk and AP are essentially locks to get in. The rest I would not call lock. Sherman and Whitworth, they're more bubble guys. I wouldn't call Ben a lock the way that Gronk is, but I think he should be a clear favorite for the 2027 class. The other equation is, of course, you're not competing with just the first timers. You're competing with the finalists of 2026. And there are some worthy names too. Jerry Evans, the Steelers assistant offensive line coach, Torrey Holt, Eli Manning. It'll be Eli and Ben on this ballot. Which way will the voters go? Both have 2 Super Bowl rings. To me, clearly Ben, just a better quarterback throughout his career than Eli Manning, much better winning percentage, etc. Terrell Suggs. How about Jason Witten? He was viewed as a big snub. He made 11-time Pro Bowler. Will he not make it on the first or second ballot? That would be a little surprising. And then you have Bill Belichick. I think the Belichick stuff is a separate category. I don't think that influences the main modern era contributors, but I'm not super well versed in the rules and some of the changes the Hall has had recently. So there's a lot of competition there. I think Ben is clearly first ballot. To LaShawn McCoy's point about no first team All Pros, 29 players in the Hall of Fame were never first team All Pro, including Roger Staubach, John Elway, Warren Moon, Tim Brown, Mel Renfro. So to me, that argument does not really hold up a lot of water to it. So I think Ben should get in. He deserves to get in. Of course, he will get in at some point if it's not first ballot. But to me, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
I agree. Now, once again, Antonio Brown would be, I think, if not for the off the field stuff, I think that's going to factor in. And as good as Le'Veon Bell was, I just think that not enough longevity there for him. And I don't think I don't like Le'Veon Bell's chances to ever get in. I think Antonio Brown will get in at some point.
Oh, you do? You think he will get in at some point?
I think Antonio Brown will get in at some point. Yeah.
What do you think will change? Just time? Because it seems like things always keep coming up with AB.
The whole, Terrell Owens finally got in, right? And not that
that was different.
Yeah,
that was second year.
But I think Brown gets in just because. I mean, look, you look at that stretch of 6-7 seasons there.
No one's debating the on-field resume. The question's just the off-field thing, obviously.
Right. I think Antonio Brown will get in at some point.
He does have, and I've not followed this much. We're going to have to follow it here in a couple of months, Dave. His attempted murder trial is set for January 2027. Now, that always could get pushed back, but the outcome of that obviously could play a role. If he is hypothetically convicted of attempted murder, I don't think he's ever going to get in the Hall of Fame. Now, an acquittal doesn't mean he will, but it obviously, I think, will change the scope of things. So Brown's not getting in first ballot or I think second ballot or anything like that. Maybe way down the line. Bell's never going to get in, and that's fine. He doesn't deserve great player in his prime. Just his career wasn't long enough. I know guys like Terrell Davis had short careers. Bell's just not going to get in the Hall of Fame, and that's okay by me. But Ben will be. Now, Ben's going to be a finalist. You can put that in pen. Right. The question is, will he get that knock to be inducted this year? So we'll be waiting a while to find out that answer.
Is Andrew Whitworth first ballot guy?
I mean, I love Witt, and he got stuck on some bad Bengals teams, and obviously he's, I think, done a great job on Amazon and some of the analysis role that he's had. Is he first ballot, though? 4-time Pro Bowler, 2-team first-team All-Pro? I mean, in my criteria of, one of the best at your position for an extended period of time, which he was, but then you just have so many other guys also in that category. I don't think first ballot for Whitworth.
Okay, I think he is. I think he will be.
Create a list of and this is all subject to change. We're doing this off the top. Give me 5 names you'd put in the Hall of Fame class from last year's finalists and this year's first time eligible. Let's just focus on modern era, putting the contributor Belichick stuff aside. Just 5 players.
All right, I think Gronkowski, Roethlisberger, Adrian Peterson, and Whitworth. And I don't have the list from the finalists from last year.
I can send it to you if you want me to send it to you. If you want to take a look here. Let me just pull it up here. But yeah, Jason Witten, Eli Manning. I'm sure you're not going to put Eli as one of your 5, but I just DM'd you the list of finalists. The ones with the asterisks are obviously the ones who were inducted and elected into the Hall of Fame. The ones without are still on the ballot and could be finalists for next year.
All right. Did you send that Twitter or
Discord? Discord.
Okay. All right. Let me check here real quick.
I'll just read off the names while you look. Willie Anderson, Jerry Evans, Frank Gore, Torrey Holt, Eli Manning, Terrell Suggs, Reggie Wayne, Kevin Williams, Jason Witten, Darren Woodson, Marshall Yonda were the finalists who were not inducted. Elected.
Reggie Wayne sticks out.
Okay, would he be your 5th?
Yeah, I think so.
That would go Gronk, AP, Ben as 3. I think Witten's got to be a 4th, and then the 5th one certainly gets interesting. I might give the nod to Willie Anderson. I think I'm going to give the nod. I think he deserves to get in.
Okay, all right.
But
it would be great too if LC Greenwood, or even though I don't think it's going to happen, Hines Ward, one of those two, especially maybe if LC gets in as the kind of that veteran guy there to have two go in his class. That would almost assure if Ben and let's say LC were going in, you probably could count on the Steelers playing in the Hall of Fame game,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, no question about that. And it was great for Roger Craig to get in, but Greenwood remains one of the Hall's largest snubs.
All right.
All right, Dave, I think the last thing we'll talk about, Minka Fitzpatrick had a rare interview. He does not speak to the media and does not speak to them at length. He was on the Pivot podcast, and so a more comfortable setting, speaking with Ryan Clark and Shannon Crowder and Fred Taylor. Had some really interesting commentary that I know earned a lot of buzz in Pittsburgh circles yesterday, saying Fitzpatrick has some regrets about how his career in Pittsburgh ended, him essentially saying he got typecast as the free safety. The team kept him at free safety, didn't want to move him around. In Fitzpatrick wishes he spoke up and asked the team to make him more versatile so he was not stuck playing off so far downfield as a deep post safety where the ball never really found him. Let me just try to find a quote here.
Well, he says in Pittsburgh, I
but-
definitely regret the way I handled the situation. When I first got there, they just plugged me in at post safety, half safety, and I played well there. After a while, quarterbacks aren't going to be throwing you the ball a whole lot, and I kind of got pushed into that role. People forgot that what I was known for was my versatility and doing different things. I'm a good football player, so no matter where you put me on the field, I'm going to be a good football player, but I think where my capabilities are maximized is when I could do different things. He went on to say they got so used to me being in that role and doing a good job of it that they didn't remember or they didn't really care to move me around. So I just got stuck in that role. And after a while, my splash and production went down. I was still playing good football, but it wasn't splashy football. I was having to make tackles downfield after a busted run. And it's like, good job, but we're paying you $18 million. We want to see splash. He went on to add, but I kind of just bit the bullet. They brought other guys in that couldn't move around and do different things. I think, first and foremost, that's confirmation for a lot of the analysis that we gave along the lines there, that simply just tying that guy to the post, especially after opposing teams realized that was where he was going to be. You saw teams go away from him, know where he was on the field, and the splash did come down after those first couple of good seasons there. A lot of times we were talking too about, well, Minka sure had a lot of tackles, but you don't necessarily pay Minka to rack up 100 tackles in the year. It's good that he's able to do that kind of stuff, but when that becomes your calling card for a guy, one of your highest paid players on your team, that he tackles well down the field after the defense allows guys through. That's not a good thing. So I feel his pain. It isn't necessarily up to the player though to. I understand that he probably wishes he should have had some more conversations there, but I think it more reflects on the coaches of not moving him around. Now, then again, you move back to his first stint in Miami there, and how he talked about he didn't like having to play kind of being pigeonholed down low as much there. So. I think this is. Does it make sense what he's saying overall? Yes. They tied him to the post. They should have moved him around more on a game by game, snap by snap basis. Made it a little bit more confusing to where he was, give him more opportunity, potentially make plays. And I imagine he was pretty upset with the coaching staff overall, and I imagine he does wish that he would have been a little bit more vocal. Not that it would have resulted in anything while Terrell Austin and Mike Tomlin were there, but I feel a little bit of his pain there.
So in a fair or foul from Fitzpatrick's comments, you would say they're more fair than foul?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, look, we talked about you just merely can't tie him to the post,
I think I have a differing take. And listen, I am a big Minka Fitzpatrick fan. He's one of my favorite guys to play in Pittsburgh in recent years. Just a really good player. Seems like a good dude. One of those speak softly but carry a big stick where he just goes out there and makes plays and just gets the job done, and was a great player for so many years. I'm going to call foul on this, though, for a couple reasons. A, because, as you said, whenever Pittsburgh first traded for him, moved him to free safety, that made Minka Fitzpatrick the star that he became, this dominant, ball-hawking, rangy free safety. And you go back to, like you said, his time in Miami, his issue was that he was not playing enough free safety and being moved around too much. I pulled up an article right after his trade request. This is from September 12th, 2019, and I'll just read part of it. It says, Fitzpatrick, who was projected as a cornerback safety out of Alabama, played 3 or 4 different positions against Baltimore. He has been uncomfortable with his consistently fluctuating role on the Dolphins' defense throughout the season. Let's see. It also says that Fitzpatrick's mother, Melissa, mentioned on Twitter that he was incorrectly used at strong safety to suit other players' skill sets. Fitzpatrick later said, quote, "I'm not 215, 220 pounds, so playing in the box is not best suited for me, but that's what coach is asking me to do." And so that all led to his trade request that got him to Pittsburgh, where they used him correctly at free safety. Pittsburgh did try Minka at different spots. They played him slot corner to begin, what year was that, 2021 or so, and got torched. He just was not suited for that role, and they moved him back to free safety. So there's some nuance to say the team probably should have been a little more creative with him, the way that you could say that about TJ Watt and him being stuck on his left outside linebacker spot. But generally, it was the right thing to play him at free safety. That's where he became a multi-time All-Pro, got paid to become the highest paid safety in football. And it just seems like Fitzpatrick is sort of trying to search for answers. The way he was searching for answers for why his play in Miami wasn't great. Back then, it was I'm moving around too much. I'm playing too much strong safety. In Pittsburgh, it became, well, I'm not playing enough strong safety. I'm not moving around enough. And so I think it just kind of, an athlete trying to find answers of why his play wasn't to the level that he expected it to be. So I generally disagree with Fitzpatrick's take.
I take it more as the latter there, with him saying, at least in Pittsburgh after his first couple of years, that he wasn't moved around enough.
But in Miami, it was like you said, he was moving around too much. So, like, what do you want here? You're moving around too much. You speak out against that. You don't get moved around enough. You're speaking out against that. I mean, it's just I don't know. If it was like, if it's not one, it's the other.
So, in other words, you say he's not happy unless he's unhappy.
I just think he's an athlete trying to find answers of why he was struggling and wasn't as productive as he had been. And I'm sure there was some nugget of truth to say it got a little too stale. It's fair to say the defense as a whole got too stale, where it just was not creative enough, where every guys got stuck in roles, and there's certainly, I think, a level and a sliver of truth to what Fitzpatrick is saying. He was paid for so much money and to play in the back end where teams are throwing away from him, was never going to give him those splash plays once he became a big-time playmaker that offenses game plan around and to stay away from. But the bottom line is he became one of the best safeties in football, the highest paid safety in football, because of him being moved to free safety and making plays in coverage. And it fizzled out at the end, but overall it was a great career in Pittsburgh, and I think it's hard to really complain too much about it.
I take it more as him saying he feels like he should have been moved around more than he
No,
was.
I agree, but in Miami, that was an issue. And so I think it's just a guy trying to find answers of just something needs to change. And that just kind of natural when a player looks at himself when he's not producing the way that he wants to. He's always trying to find a reason for that.
All right. I mean, obviously his playmaking has gone down over the last several years, and we'll see how he fits in with the Jets and see if he can see how they utilize him and how they move him around and if he's able to make plays there. But this certainly made a lot of news with these comments, because he's not one to give long, detailed answers or criticism like that, and he certainly did in that interview.
Yeah, so that's what he had to say. And listen, I'm a big time Minka fan. Hope he has a really good year with Aaron Glenn and the Jets. They need the playmaking. The Jets did they not have a single interception last year? I think they had 0 interceptions as a defense, like just historically bad stuff there. So hopefully Minka can provide that. All right, Dave, anything else on your mind?
Yeah, quickly lay out sort of the differences and similarities, comparing and contrasting Mike McCarthy and Mike Tomlin's training camps up until this point. I think this is a well laid out article. I don't want you to give it's detailed. You got a nice table in there. It's a long read overall, but kind of highlight it for the folks of why they should read it and what you found out.
Yeah, I think some people don't care about the differences and the changes from Mike Tomlin, and I understand your full speed ahead in the Mike McCarthy era, but I think it's worth after 19 years of the same coach just to at least acknowledge and just point out what's different. And this is not to say, and I always give the caveat, it's not always better or worse, it's just different, and that's fine. Each coach has their own style, but I wanted to lay out how a typical padded McCarthy practice went versus a typical Tomlin padded practice. And so they have some similarities, but the overall vibe is that under Tomlin, more special teams periods, more competition periods. Under McCarthy, more reps for guys, a little more efficiency, maximizing the time there, more focus on team period than competition period. So I have a good graphic on the site in the article that lays out kind of this step by step of they go from this drill to this period, one after another with some more commentary afterwards. So obviously, the no tackling aspect has been given a lot of attention, understandably so. It's one of the largest visceral changes, but there's a lot of other smaller changes to practice and how it flows too.
All right, real quick, the Packers are expected to start Jordan Love, right, and play some of their starters in this game, correct?
That seemed to be the implication from LaFleur, yes.
Okay. What does this game? Yeah, it's preseason, yada yada. I get all that. What do you think, Mike? How bad do you think Mike McCarthy wants to win this game against Green Bay? First preseason game as a Steeler. Look, winning and losing preseason games is not the end all do all. It's how you look on the field. But what do you think this game potentially means to Mike McCarthy?
Like personally,
Yeah.
as you're kind of getting at, I mean, I'm sure there's a little something there as a competitor and as somebody fired midway through the season very unceremoniously that just if you're a competitor, and I think McCarthy is, you always feel that. But as you said, it's a preseason game, so no one really cares if it's a win or a loss. It's just more about how the guys play. And McCarthy's touched on that a little bit, that he's just kind of focused on the Steelers. I think it means more to him getting to coach the Steelers the first time out and having them look like a good product more so than getting some sort of revenge on Green Bay.
All right, I agree, but I think there's a little bit of him that really wants to win this game in his
Sure.
debut at Acrisure. All right, Alex, the line in this game has kind of shifted. It opened up with the Steelers being favored in this preseason game. The Packers are now favored by 1.5 points. I don't want to go score wise, but let's go with the line here only. Steelers plus 1.5. Are you taking the points?
I'll take the Packers.
Okay, so you're laying the 1.5 in this, and you expect the Packers to win. I expect the Steelers to win this game, so give me the 1.5 points in this.
All right. Let's do just this, Dave. I know we didn't mention it in our 2-hour pre-production meeting. Let me just throw a couple of rapid-fire questions that I'm also thinking of off the top of my head and I want to get your answers, and we'll only remember them if they come true, as our usual rule for the podcast. Who throws more passes, Will Howard or Drew Allar?
Drew Allar.
Ooh, okay. Who leads the team in carries?
Lou Nichols.
Okay. Oh, not Caleb Johnson. Interesting. Who leads the team in receptions?
Brandon Smith.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, they're hoping that hype train continues. Let's see. Who gets more snaps on offense? Riley Nowakowski or Robert Tunyon?
Nowakowski, easy.
Okay. Who plays the most number of snaps along the offensive line?
That's a good one. Ryan McCollum.
You stole my answer. I was going to swoop in and give an answer and say McCullum, but I'll hold your hand on that one. Who plays the most snaps along the defensive line?
Mm. Kyler Baugh.
Ooh, all right. I don't know if Bob's going to be my answer, but I like it. Who leads the team in tackles?
Jacoby Windman.
Ooh, where's that one coming from? I dig it. I'm going to say Bruner, but I dig Windman. Does a Steeler record an interception, and if so, who?
Yes.
Who?
Robert Spears Jr.
Ooh, the rookie 7th-round pick with a pick in his NFL debut. I love it. How many penalties does Pittsburgh commit in this game as a team?
6.
I'm going to say higher. They've been a mess. They got to clean this thing up. I'm going to say 9 in this game. And how many offensive plays of 20-plus yards does Pittsburgh's offense record?
3.
3. All right. Lock it in. That's all the questions I got, Dave.
All right.
No further questions.
All right. It'd be nice to get your answers there, but
well, I'm asking the questions.
All right. I don't think we have hardly any listener emails in here. Let me double check real quick. Make sure there's if we do, there's no long ones in here. No, I'm not seeing anything in here on that. So
give me a score prediction while we're at it. Who cares? You took Pittsburgh. Give me a score prediction.
2017 Steelers.
You always go 2017.
Yeah.
Isn't that? I feel like you go with that every single game, regular season or preseason. I'll say Green Bay 24-13.
All right. Sounds like a winner. All right. We will be back. Friday morning, right? To recap this game. Hopefully the all 22 drops fairly quickly here. I know we'll at least have gone through the TV copy several times by then. We ought to have a lot to talk about. Good, bad, ugly, indifferent when it comes to this first preseason game. I'm really looking forward to it. We'll have a lot of great content going up today and in the morning and obviously post-game. So good time to be alive and hit Steelers Depot these next several days here. And once again, Alex and I will be back on Friday morning with a morning podcast here to get things going here into the weekend. So in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate, SteelersDepot.com. Hit the donate button. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com. Hit the ad-free button. We'll have all the standbys up there on the site. Tom's 10 takes is always that football's back when Tom's 10 takes hit there. We'll get the charting together as soon as possible as well too. So really looking forward to our discussion on Friday, Alex. So until then, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.